The next hours on the human base felt slow and heavy. Lyra sat in her small room, looking out the window. She watched the sky and waited for news about the alien ships. Her heart was full of fear, but she did not want to show it. She wanted to be strong for her new friends. Outside her room, people hurried in the halls. Colonel Jack and the leaders met to talk about what to do. They looked at the screens that showed the ships getting closer. Amy came into Lyra's room to bring her food, but Lyra was not hungry. She only wanted to know what would happen next. Luke stayed with Lyra as much as he could. He saw how worried she was, and he tried to comfort her. "We will not let anything happen to you," he said. "You are not alone." Soon, Colonel Jack called everyone to the main room. He explained that the alien ships had sent a message. They wanted Lyra to come out and speak to them. The humans were not sure if it was safe. Amy looked at Lyra, her face full of worry. "You do not have to go," she said softly, but Lyra knew it was her choice. She thought about all the kindness the humans had shown her. She wanted to protect them as much as she could. "I will go," she said quietly. "Maybe I can stop a fight." Luke was not happy with this plan. "It is too dangerous," he said. "They hurt you before." Lyra nodded. "I know, but I must try." The humans made a plan. They would watch from a safe distance, ready to help if something went wrong. Lyra would go out and talk to her people, but she would not be alone. When the time came, Lyra walked out of the base with Luke and Amy beside her. The sky was full of gray clouds, and the cold wind pulled at her clothes. The alien ships landed on the ground far from the base. From the ships, several figures appeared. They wore armor and carried strange weapons. Their faces looked cold and angry. One of the aliens stepped forward. His voice was loud and full of power. "Lyra, you must come with us. You broke our laws. You are not welcome here with the humans." Lyra stood tall, even though she was afraid. "I did nothing wrong," she said. "I only wanted to live. These people helped me when you left me to die." The alien leader looked at the humans. "Give her to us, and we will leave you in peace." Colonel Jack did not answer right away. He looked at Lyra. "What do you want to do?" Lyra's hand shook, but she spoke clearly. "I do not want to go with them. I want to stay here." Luke stood beside her. "We will not give Lyra to you. She is one of us now." The alien leader looked angry. "If you do not give her to us, there will be trouble." Amy stepped forward. "She is our friend. We will protect her." The air was tense. Lyra felt the fear in the humans around her, but also their strength. She knew she was not alone anymore. One of the younger aliens behind the leader looked at Lyra with sad eyes. Lyra remembered him from her old life. He had once helped her find water as a child. Now he looked away, unable to meet her gaze. "You do not have to do this," Lyra said to her old friend. "You know I am not your enemy." But the leader shouted, "Enough! We are leaving, but we will be back." The aliens turned and left, getting back into their ships. The engines roared, and soon they were gone. Everyone on the base let out a sigh of relief, but Lyra knew this was not the end. The leader would come back. She knew her people did not forgive easily. Inside the base, the humans tried to act normal, but everyone was worried. Amy and Luke stayed close to Lyra. They talked together late into the night, making plans for what they would do if the aliens returned. In the days that followed, Lyra tried to help more around the base. She worked in the gardens, fixed small machines, and played with the children. The humans thanked her for everything she did. She felt their love and support. She wanted to give them hope, just as they had given her hope. One afternoon, Lyra taught the children how to sing a song from her world. Her voice was soft and clear. The children laughed and tried to sing with her, even though the words were hard to say. The song made everyone smile, even Colonel Jack. It was a small moment of peace in a time of worry. At night, Lyra dreamed of her old home. She saw her family and the faces of those who had betrayed her. She woke up with tears in her eyes, but she was not alone. Amy was there, holding her hand and whispering kind words. Luke sat by the window, watching the stars and promising to protect her no matter what happened. One evening, a small group of humans gathered in the common room. They talked about Lyra and what she meant to the base. Some still worried she might bring danger, but others argued she had done nothing but help. Slowly, more and more people decided to trust her. They made a plan to stand together if the aliens returned. Lyra saw this change. She felt stronger knowing the humans cared for her. She decided that if her people came back, she would do everything she could to keep her new home safe. Soon, word came that the alien ships were returning. This time, more ships appeared in the sky, and everyone on the base prepared for trouble. Colonel Jack gave a speech, telling the humans to stay calm and work together. Lyra stood at the front with Luke and Amy, ready to face whatever would come next. She was afraid, but she was not alone. She had found a new family, and together they would protect each other. Lyra woke up in the quiet room of the human base. She listened to the soft sounds outside, voices, machines, footsteps. She sat up slowly, looking at her arms and legs. The bandages were clean, and her pain was less than before. Sunlight came through a small window, warm and gentle. She felt safe, but she also felt nervous. She remembered the eyes of the humans who had seen her arrive. They did not know her, and she did not know them. She hoped they would be kind, like Luke. Amy came to check on Lyra in the morning. Amy smiled and spoke in a soft voice. She brought new clothes for Lyra, simple and comfortable. Lyra changed out of the thick blanket and put on the new clothes, feeling shy but grateful. Amy helped her brush her hair and even gave her a small mirror. Lyra looked at herself and saw hope in her own eyes for the first time in many days. Luke visited as soon as he could. He walked into the room with a friendly smile, happy to see Lyra awake and sitting up. "How are you feeling?" he asked. Lyra tried to smile back. "Better," she answered. "Thank you." Luke sat beside her. "The others want to meet you. They're curious but also worried. You are the first alien to come here in peace. I will stay with you. You don't have to be afraid." Lyra nodded, but her heart beat fast with worry. She followed Luke into the main part of the base. The halls were full of people, men and women in uniforms, engineers, medics, and even some children. Many stopped to watch Lyra walk by. Some whispered. Some smiled. Others just stared. In the big room, the leader of the base waited. His name was Colonel Jack. He stood tall and looked serious. "Welcome," he said to Lyra. "We do not get visitors like you often. You are safe here as long as you mean us no harm." Lyra nodded. "I do not want to hurt anyone. I only want to heal." Colonel Jack studied her for a moment, and then nodded. "You may stay, but you must follow our rules." Lyra agreed quickly. She was just glad to be allowed to stay. The colonel assigned a room for her in the living quarters and told Amy to help her learn the base's ways. Amy became Lyra's guide. She showed Lyra the cafeteria, the gardens, and the common rooms. Everywhere they went, people were curious. But most were friendly when they saw how gentle Lyra was. As days passed, Lyra learned more about human life. She watched how people worked together, laughed together, and cared for each other. She started helping Amy with simple tasks, folding blankets, watering plants, and cleaning rooms. She felt proud to be useful. Amy told her, "You are part of our family now." One afternoon, Lyra helped Amy in the garden. She asked about the plants and listened as Amy explained how humans grew food. Lyra shared stories about the foods on her own world, strange fruits that glowed in the dark, soft breads that melted in your mouth. Amy listened, fascinated. "Maybe one day you can show us how to grow them here," Amy said. Lyra smiled and nodded, happy to share something from her past. Sometimes Lyra sat with the children in the common room. She told them gentle stories about stars and planets far away. The children listened with wide eyes, asking questions. "Do you have friends?" one little girl asked. Lyra paused and then answered, "I do now." The children smiled and hugged her, making her feel even more welcomed. Meanwhile, Luke worked hard to make sure everyone treated Lyra kindly. He answered questions from the crew and explained why Lyra was not dangerous. He told them how he had found her alone and freezing, and how brave she had been to survive. Slowly, more people came to trust Lyra. Still, not everyone was friendly. Some people avoided her. One man named Sam was afraid. He told Colonel Jack that Lyra should not stay. "What if her people come for her?" Sam said. "What if she is a spy?" Lyra heard the whispers, but tried not to let them hurt her. She kept helping Amy and the others, hoping her actions would show she meant no harm. One evening, as she walked back to her room, she found a small drawing outside her door. It was a picture of her and the children, smiling under a bright sun. Lyra held the drawing close to her heart, feeling the warmth of acceptance. One night, after most people had gone to bed, Lyra sat with Luke in the quiet cafeteria. She told him the whole story of her past, how her people had betrayed her and left her to die. She spoke slowly, choosing her words carefully. Luke listened without interrupting. When she finished, he gently put his hand on hers. "You are safe now. You have us." Lyra felt tears in her eyes, but this time they were not from fear or sadness. They were from hope. Days turned into weeks. Lyra's wounds healed, and she grew stronger. She began to laugh again, to share more stories, and even to sing quiet songs in her own language. Amy and the others learned some of the words, singing with her in the gardens. One morning, a warning alarm sounded through the base. Everyone rushed to their stations. Colonel Jack called an emergency meeting. "Unknown ships are coming toward our base," he said. "We do not know if they are friendly." Lyra felt cold fear in her heart. She recognized the shapes of the ships on the screen. They were from her own world. She knew what this could mean. Luke saw the fear in her eyes. "Do you know them?" he asked softly. Lyra nodded, her voice shaking. "They are my people. They are looking for me." Colonel Jack looked at Lyra with worry. "Should we be afraid?" Lyra thought for a moment, remembering the way her people had treated her. "I do not know," she said honestly, "but I want to protect you. I will do everything I can." Luke squeezed her hand, promising to stand by her side no matter what happened. Lyra felt strong again. She was not alone this time. Whatever would come, she would face it with her new family. When Lyra woke up, she was warm and safe. At first, she did not remember where she was. The soft blankets around her felt strange. She looked around the small room, seeing smooth white walls and glowing lights on panels. The memory of the cold, the pain, and the stranger's face came back to her slowly. She remembered the human who found her and carried her away from the ice. She wondered if he was still there. As she tried to sit up, her body ached. Every movement reminded her of her wounds. She noticed fresh bandages on her arms and legs. Someone had cleaned her cuts and covered them with gentle care. Lyra touched the blanket and whispered a quiet thank you. Not knowing if anyone could hear her. Soon, the door slid open with a soft sound. Luke entered the room, holding a small bowl. He smiled when he saw Lyra awake. His eyes were kind and full of hope. "Good morning," he said softly, sitting down beside her. He placed the bowl on a small table. "I brought you some soup. It will help you get stronger." Lyra looked at him, unsure if she could trust him, but her hunger was stronger than her fear. She reached for the bowl, her hands still shaking. Luke helped her, holding the bowl steady as she sipped the warm soup. Every drop filled her with new energy. She was surprised by the simple taste. She had never eaten human food before, but it felt good and comforting. Luke watched Lyra with gentle eyes. "My name is Luke," he said. "You're safe here. I want to help you." Lyra nodded slowly. She tried to speak, but her words were weak. "Lyra, she said quietly, her voice soft. "Thank you, Luke." Luke smiled again, happy to hear her name. "You're welcome, Lyra. You were very cold and hurt. I'm glad you're awake." For a while, they sat in silence. Lyra finished the soup, feeling a little stronger. She watched Luke as he checked the bandages on her arms and legs. He worked with gentle hands, making sure she was not in pain. As he worked, Lyra looked at him with curious eyes. "Why did you help me?" she asked. "I am not human." Luke paused, thinking about his answer. "You needed help," he said simply. "It does not matter what you are. I could not leave you there. No one deserves to be alone and hurt." Lyra did not know what to say. His words surprised her. She had learned to fear other people, even her own kind. Trust was hard for her, but Luke's kindness felt real. She let herself believe him. Just a little later that day, Luke showed her around his small ship. He explained the controls and pointed out the supplies. Lyra listened carefully, interested in this new place. Everything was different from what she knew. The ship was old and small, but full of things she did not understand. Luke made her laugh. Once when he tried to say a word in her language and got it wrong. Time passed slowly. Each day, Lyra grew a little stronger. Her wounds healed, and she was able to walk short distances around the ship. Sometimes she watched the stars outside the window and wondered where her people were now. Other times she watched Luke work, amazed at his patience and kindness. She learned more words in English, trying to speak with Luke. He was a good teacher and never made her feel silly for making mistakes. One day, Lyra tried to help Luke repair a broken panel. She was clumsy at first, but Luke smiled and guided her hands. "You're doing great," he told her. Working together, they fixed the panel. Lyra felt proud and happy. She was not useless. She could help. At night, Lyra sometimes dreamed about her past. She remembered her home, her family, and the moment they left her behind. She woke up crying, afraid and alone. But every time, Luke was there. He sat by her side, listening quietly. He did not ask too many questions. He only offered comfort and safety. His presence made her feel less alone. Slowly, Lyra began to trust Luke more. She told him small things about her life. She explained that her people were not always kind. She shared her fear of being alone. Luke listened carefully, never judging her. He told her about his own home, his friends, and his reason for exploring the stars. They shared stories late into the night, building a fragile bridge between two. Very different worlds. As the days passed, Lyra and Luke became friends. They laughed together and learned from each other. Lyra started to feel hope again. She was not just a lost alien anymore. She was someone who mattered, someone who could have a future. But as they drew closer to a human outpost, Lyra grew nervous. She knew other humans might not accept her so easily. Luke noticed her worry. "It's okay," he said gently. "I'll stay with you. No one will hurt you. You have my word." Lyra nodded, trusting him. But deep inside, she was still afraid of what would happen next. When the ship finally landed at the human base, Lyra's heart pounded in her chest. She stayed close to Luke as they walked into the busy halls. People stared at her, their eyes full of curiosity and concern. Lyra felt small and exposed, but Luke never left her side. An older woman named Amy, a medic at the base, greeted them. She spoke kindly to Lyra and led her to a room where she could rest. Amy checked her wounds again, making sure she was healing well. "You're safe here," Amy told her, and Lyra wanted to believe her. For the first time in a long while, Lyra felt safe. She knew the road ahead would not be easy, but she also knew she was not alone. Luke had saved her, and now, together, they faced whatever would come next. Lyra opened her eyes slowly. Cold wind bit painfully at her skin. She tried to move, but sharp pain rushed through her body, forcing a soft cry from her lips. She realized with horror that she was lying unclothed on icy ground, abandoned by her own people. Fear tightened its grip around her heart. Betrayal by her own kind had left her here, alone and helpless. She shivered violently. Every breath she took felt like needles in her chest. The sky above her was dark and full of stars she had never seen before. Her mind filled with panic. She had no idea how long she had been lying there, but the bitter cold made every second feel endless. Lyra tried to call out, but her voice was weak, barely louder than the freezing wind around her. Tears blurred her vision as she tried again to move, forcing herself to roll onto her side. Her arms trembled, and her hands, numb from the cold, felt nothing but sharp pain. Lyra clenched her jaw, determination pushing her to fight the urge to give up. She had survived so much already. She could not let herself surrender now. She struggled to pull herself across the icy surface, desperate to find shelter or at least something to shield her from the relentless wind. Her strength faded quickly, and soon she lay still again, breathing heavily and shaking uncontrollably. Despair began to overwhelm her thoughts, darkening any spark of hope. Then, suddenly, a tiny light appeared in the distance. Lyra's heart jumped. Could it be rescue, or was it her mind playing cruel tricks? She focused her eyes on the light, praying it was real. Slowly, painfully, she lifted one trembling hand into the air, reaching out toward the distant glow. She whispered quietly to herself, pleading that someone, anyone, would come. Luke moved carefully through the icy terrain, his thick boots crunching softly with each step. His small ship had picked up a faint distress signal, and curiosity and duty compelled him to investigate. He held a light in one hand, shining it across the empty, frozen landscape. His heart beat faster as he wondered who or what could possibly be out here in such harsh conditions. Suddenly, his eyes caught a small movement ahead, and he quickened his pace. Luke's breath fogged in the freezing air as he came closer and saw a shape lying on the ground. His heart sank with worry, and he hurried forward, kneeling down beside the trembling figure. Lyra felt warmth suddenly as someone knelt next to her. She tried to focus, her vision cloudy from exhaustion and cold. A face appeared above her, human and full of concern. Luke quickly removed his heavy coat and gently wrapped it around her shaking body. The warmth was almost painful as it touched her frozen skin, but Lyra welcomed it gratefully. "Please save me," Lyra whispered, her voice weak and desperate. "It's okay," Luke said softly, his tone calm and reassuring. "You're safe now. I've got you." He carefully lifted Lyra into his arms, holding her close to share his body heat. She whimpered softly, the pain sharp but comforted by his presence. Luke moved quickly back toward his ship, speaking quietly to her the entire way, promising safety and warmth. Lyra barely heard his words, but the gentle sound of his voice was soothing and gave her comfort. Once inside his ship, Luke carefully laid Lyra down on a soft bed, quickly activating the heating systems. Warmth spread slowly through the small cabin, and Luke gently covered her with thick blankets. Lyra watched him through half-open eyes as he worked swiftly to help her. "You're going to be okay," Luke assured her again, his voice steady and kind. He knelt beside her, checking her for serious injuries. He found several wounds and carefully treated them, making sure she was comfortable as Lyra lay there, feeling warmth and safety for the first time in what seemed like forever. Her mind raced with confusion and questions. Why had her people left her? Why had this human risked himself to help her? She wanted to ask Luke, but exhaustion and relief quickly overcame her, pulling her toward sleep. "Rest," Luke told her softly, noticing her struggling to stay awake. "You're safe here." Lyra's eyes slowly closed, the gentle hum of the ship calming her fears. She felt strangely safe with this human, who had shown her more kindness in moments than her own people ever had. Her heart filled with gratitude and something else hope. Luke sat beside her quietly, watching as she finally fell asleep. He wondered who she was, where she had come from, and how anyone could abandon someone so vulnerable. His resolve strengthened. Whoever Lyra was, He knew one thing clearly. He would protect her from harm no matter the cost. As the ship lifted from the icy surface, carrying them towards safety, Luke glanced once more at Lyra's peaceful face. He felt a strong sense of responsibility and compassion for this strange, injured woman. The universe had brought them together for a reason, and Luke was determined to find out what that reason was. The days that followed the contest were uneasy. Lyra and Jake tried to enjoy their time together, but trouble was building in the shadows. The council's anger did not fade. Some nobles could not accept that a human had shown such courage and gained the queen's trust. They believed that Lyra was losing her strength by allowing change and new ideas. A few began to plot against her, hoping to turn the people against their queen and the human who stood beside her. One evening, as the sun set behind the purple hills, Lyra and Jake sat in the palace gardens. Lyra was quiet, thinking about the council's words and the future of Zinjora. Jake noticed her sadness and tried to comfort her. "Are you worried?" he asked gently. Lyra nodded. "I can feel something is wrong. The council is not happy. I think they will do something soon." Jake looked serious. "I will help you, no matter what happens. You are not alone." Lyra gave a grateful smile. "Thank you, Jake. You are a true friend." That night, a group of nobles met in secret. Terran was there, looking uncertain. He had started to respect Jake, but the others were angry. They planned to take power by force. "We will make the people afraid," one noble said. "We will say the queen is too weak to rule. We must act before the human ruins everything." As the plot grew, a loyal servant overheard their plan and hurried to warn Lyra. She found the queen and told her everything. Lyra listened carefully. "Thank you for your courage. I will not let them hurt my people." She called Jake and shared what she had learned. "The council will try to take the palace. They want to scare the people into following them. We must be ready." Jake nodded. "How can I help?" Lyra thought quickly. "We need to show the people that we are strong and united. We must not let fear win." Together they made a plan. Lyra would speak to the people from the palace balcony, while Jake would help guard the palace doors with a group of loyal Zeneran guards and humans. At dawn, the council moved against the palace. Angry nobles and warriors stormed the gates. Lyra stood on the balcony above, calm and proud. Her voice rang out over the square. "I am your queen. I will not let fear and hate rule Zinjora. We must trust each other and move forward together." The people listened, torn between the council's lies and Lyra's steady courage. Below, Jake stood with the loyal guards. When the rebels tried to break in, Jake and his team blocked the doors. Though he was smaller, Jake used quick thinking. He threw bright powder on the floor, making the ground slippery so the rebels slipped and fell. He and the guards locked the doors tight, holding them against the angry crowd. Inside the palace, Lyra's loyal supporters rushed to protect the Tihori queen. Some rebels got in, and a fight broke out in the grand hall. Lyra herself moved to help. Her strength was greater than any normal Zeneran, and her presence gave her allies courage. She used her power to push back the attackers, but she never used more force than needed. She wanted peace, not blood. As the fighting continued, Terran suddenly appeared before Jake. "I do not want this," Terran said. "I only wanted to protect Zinjora." "But this is not right." Jake met his eyes. "It is not too late to help. You can stop the others." Terran nodded and ran to speak to the other rebels. He convinced some to lay down their weapons, reminding them of the queen's kindness and strength. Soon, the battle ended. Most of the rebels were captured or gave up. Lyra's words and actions had reached the people's hearts. Those who had been afraid now saw her courage and fairness. The city calmed as the last rebels were taken away. Lyra and Jake met in the great hall, both tired but safe. "We did it," Lyra said softly. "You did it," Jake replied. "You showed everyone what a true leader is." Lyra looked at him with gratitude. "I could not have done it alone." "Thank you, Jake." The next day, the people of Zenora gathered outside the palace. Lyra stood before them, her head held high. "Change is not easy," she told them, "but together we are stronger. Zenora will welcome new friends and new ideas. Our future will be built on hope, not fear." Jake stood beside her, smiling at the crowd. Some people still looked uncertain, but most cheered. They saw now that Lyra's strength came from her heart as much as from her power. In the days that followed, Lyra began to make changes in her council. She chose new advisors who were wise and open-minded. Terran was forgiven and allowed to serve again, for he had shown he could change. Jake was given a place of honor, respected as a friend and helper to the queen. The city began to feel different. There was more laughter in the markets, more kindness in the streets. People from other worlds were welcomed, and old fears slowly faded. As the sun set one evening, Lyra and Jake sat by the glowing river. "Thank you for believing in me," Lyra said. "Thank you for trusting me," Jake replied. Together, they watched the stars, hopeful for the new Zenora they had helped create. The days after the council meeting were tense for Queen Lyra. News about her friendship with Jake spread all over Zenora. Some people were curious, but many were afraid that the queen was changing too much. They worried that the old ways would be lost. Some nobles and warriors grew more jealous and started making plans in secret, hoping to push Jake away from the queen's side. Jake noticed the change too. He could feel the stares as he walked through the palace. Some servants whispered when he passed. A few younger Zenorans smiled and waved, but most kept their distance. Jake tried not to let it bother him. He remembered Lyra's words and wanted to show her he would always be a loyal friend. One afternoon, Lyra invited Jake to a special place outside the city. It was a high hill with a clear view of the whole valley. She brought him there to show him the beauty of her world, but also to talk about something serious. "The council is pressuring me," Lyra said quietly. "They say I must choose a mate from the noble families. They say a queen without a mate is weak." Jake looked at her, concern in his eyes. "Do you have to do what they say?" "I am the queen," Lyra said with a sad smile. "But even queens have rules to follow. If I refuse, the council may try to take away my power. They could cause trouble for all of Zenora." Jake was silent for a moment. "If you have to choose a mate, will you pick someone you don't care about?" Lyra shook her head. "I do not want to. I want to choose for myself, but tradition is strong here." As they sat together, a cold wind blew across the hill. Jake wrapped his arms around himself and tried to think of a way to help. He did not want to leave Zenora, but he also did not want Lyra to suffer because of him. That evening, the council sent a message to Lyra. They had organized a great test for all possible mates. They wanted to prove who was worthy of standing beside the queen. The contest would be held in the main square, with everyone in Zenora watching. The council hoped to prove that none could match the strength and skills of their best nobles. When Jake heard about the test, he looked at Lyra with a small grin. "Do you think they want me to try too?" Lyra laughed, but there was worry in her voice. "I think they want you to fail. Jake, they want to show everyone that a human cannot match a Zenoran." Jake nodded. "Then I will show them what humans can do." The day of the contest arrived. The square was packed with people. Nobles dressed in shining armor lined up, each one hoping to win the queen's favor. The council explained the rules. Each challenger would face a series of test strength, wisdom, and courage. The winner would earn the right to ask for the queen's hand in public. Jake stood in the line with the others. Some nobles laughed at him, others looked annoyed. Lyra watched from her seat above the crowd, her heart pounding with worry. She hoped Jake would be careful and safe. The first test was a race across a maze filled with traps and puzzles. Jake ran quickly, using his small size to slip past obstacles. Where the stronger nobles tried to break their way through, Jake looked for secret doors and hidden paths. He finished the maze in the middle of the group, but he never gave up. Second test was a battle of riddles. An old Zeneran elder asked questions about history, math, and the stars. Jake listened carefully and answered with patience. He missed a few, but his answers were clever and showed respect for Zeneran culture. The last test was the most dangerous. The challengers had to cross a narrow bridge over a deep canyon with strong winds blowing. Many nobles tried to run across quickly, but some fell and had to be rescued by guards. Jake waved for the wind to slow, then walked step by step, steady and calm. He reached the other side safely, smiling up at Lyra Dot at the end of the contest. The council counted the scores. No one had won all the challenges, but Jake had finished each one with courage and creativity. The crowd began to cheer for him, surprised by his efforts. Even some of the younger nobles started to see him as more than just an outsider. T or Ein. The young noble who once doubted Jake stepped forward and bowed. "You have earned our respect, human. You may not be the strongest, but you are brave and clever." Lyra felt proud as she stood up to speak. "I thank all who have tried today, but I must choose for myself. Today Jake has shown me that strength is not only in the body, but also in the heart." The council was not happy. Some muttered among themselves, but the people cheered for Lyra's words. She reached for Jake's hand and lifted it high, showing the whole city that she was proud of him. That night, Jake and Lyra walked together in the quiet gardens. "You did it," Lyra whispered. "You showed them what true strength is." Jake smiled. "I could not have done it without your support." Lyra squeezed his hand gently. "Thank you for being my friend." They stood together under the stars, feeling closer than ever before. But in the shadows, some council members whispered their anger. They were not ready to accept a human by the Queen's side. Jake and Lyra knew their troubles were not over, but for now, they enjoyed their small victory and the hope it brought to Zenora.